Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing out there? Welcome to the United States of America podcast. I know that we're not expecting Anna tonight, but she might surprise us. I wanted to go over a few reports with you tonight, and I welcome you all. Listen, so we wanted to talk about, I just want to read a lot of Anna's articles for you. I know that she's doing a lot. It's all coming out 100 miles an hour, and it's really difficult for a lot of people to keep up with. So I thought it would be nice to go over it. Monday, for those of you who are not aware, November 17th is a very historical day. It is our homecoming. It is the day that basically our American government is now back in the hands of the Americans. It's over 50 years worth of work, thousands and thousands of people working and doing the research and the historians. So we want to thank all of the people who contributed to this over the very many years, the last 50 years at least. So on November 17th, it should be long remembered as Homecoming Day for America. It's the day we all came home to our natural estate. The assets of this country are again securely in the control of Americans for the first time in over 150 years. And our days as de facto colonies of the British Empire in any jurisdiction are finally done and over. The plan of the perpetrators to switch jurisdictions again and subject us to a form of corporate feudalism to redefine living men and women as transhumans and use this as a means to deprive them of their natural and inalienable rights, and even human rights, has failed. The potent danger posed by the UN Corporation and the World Economic Forum, the WEF, and numerous other corporate think tanks and international organizations aiming at the monolithic and monopolistic and anti-human world government has been dealt with. In your hearts and souls, give thanks that these evils have been avoided and that the corporations responsible for these evils are being liquidated and or forfeited under new management. For those who the true extent of the criminality and theft that have been practiced against us and against the people of many other nations, this news comes like a thunderclap. The criminals amongst us are sweating and in a panic. The good people of many lands are raising their heads, cautiously surprised, only vaguely glimpsing what this announcement might mean. For Americans, it means recognition of your political status as Americans. Nobody can presume that you are stateless or in need of salvage anymore. No nation or, as it happens, commercial syndicate can confer or impose foreign citizenship obligations on you. Your ship of state, the United States of America, unincorporated, has come through the storms against all odds and still stands among the nations and countries of the world. Nobody can claim that your American government is absent, in interregnum, or missing anymore. As we emerge intact and move upon the world stage again visibly, we will be cleaning and restoring our national capital in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We will be educating people on a vast scale, showing them what happened and how our country, along with many others, was usurped upon, and teaching them their own history, a subject neglected by public schools that were no longer serving our public. Rank and file Americans will know that the 3 federal constitutions and service contracts between the people that is as state citizens of our states of the Union and federal state vendors operating in each of the three separate jurisdictions of law, land, air, and water, the law. Every man and woman on the street will know that the federal government functions only in international jurisdictions and that their national government is a separate and supreme government occupying the land and soil of each nation state. We will all remember who we are, but until that educational process is complete, until people understand who they are and the role they play in the complex government structure designed by our forefathers, there is bound to be confusion. Be patient with yourselves and with others. We were supposed to know and learn all this as children. Now we have to learn it as adults. After having spent a lifetime living under the thumb of a completely different form of law and government, it's tough, but ultimately so rewarding, so life-affirming. The same is true for many other nations. People around the world will be rediscovering the peace and power of their lawful national governments, their own cultural traditions, their own law. Each will come home to their own house and find their abundant peace and enjoy their unknown wealth among their own people and loved ones. Everyone will know that this has been made possible by the goodwill, support, honesty, decency, and devotion to truth embraced by other people and other nations around the world. None of us have arrived at this moment solely on the basis of our own efforts. So let gratitude be your guide going forward. Pause and feel the gratitude for all that has been freely given to you by nature and nature's God. Gratitude that you share a world full of good people of every kind and color, every nation and religion. Let love be your guide also. Love for your beautiful country, love for your countrymen, and beyond that, love for the earth, love for mankind. We stand on the verge of an explosion of mathematical and scientific knowledge and progress that has long been suppressed by self-interested commercial and military interests. For some of you, this will require learning new math and thinking of things in new ways in your professions. For many, it will mean adapting to and using new technologies. This may be challenging too, especially for those of us who are a little older. But again, the rewards and new understandings are so fulfilling and so worthwhile. Restoring our planet, cleaning up pollution, dealing with energy needs, restoring soil health, bringing water back to the deserts, creating new recycling and solid waste management systems, and so much more will be aided and made possible by technologies that have been suppressed. This will be called the Age of Wonders. And so it may seem, just remember that selfish individuals and factions in rival governments suppressed and prevented all these blessings intended for mankind. And that selfishness has meant unnecessary suffering and death for the innocent among us. Let us all resolve to end the paradigm of secrecy, rivalry, greed, and destructive self-interest. These evils have stood in the way of life and life abundant for long enough. Please join us in saying, "Done with evil," and meaning it in your heart, in your mind, and in your spirit. As each of us comes to recognize evil for what it is and renounce it, our lives and our world will change as surely as the tides roll in, as naturally as grass grows, and all for the better. Grana. Anna also says that We explained the military history, the relatively recent military history of that part of North America known as the United States. Once the American government, from 1776 to 1783, secured victory over the British Empire, progress westward was via a territorial government process set forth in the Northwest Ordinance, with the British territorial government taking the lead in exploration and initial settlement as a result of treaty provisions mandating this arrangement. The native nations that were not conquered in the French and Indian War were successively met in battle with the British territorial government operating as the United States of America Incorporated, a rogue service vendor of the actual American government. Our American government has been at peace since 1814 and flies the peacetime flag. Anytime that what appears to be the American war flag has been seen between 1814 and today, it was a Title IV flag being flown by the United States government, not the American government. So the native nations thought they were fighting us, when in fact they were fighting British territorial mercenary forces. While we are cleaning up these mistaken identity issues, let us also clear up the genesis of the name America, associated with our country and two continents, both North and South America. The name America comes from Armorica, a Celtic kingdom of far western France that has more generally come to be known as part of Normandy. Armorica has played a central part in the Norman conquest of Britain and the trade and colonization of North and South America, but as Britain desperately wanted to keep this role hidden, they have spread a popular tale about the name America coming from Amerigo Vespucci, an Italian map maker. And mum has been the word about the ancient and honorable kingdom of Armorica. Armorica is an actual and factual historical Celtic kingdom, and it should be self-evident that this is the origin of the name America. British attempts to avoid French claims superseding their own property claims in England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, as well as North and South America, notwithstanding the claims, are valid and they exist. They are the basis for the Norman conquest and the American Revolution too. The Brits don't want to admit the Norman conquest either, but even long prior to that, if anyone was paying attention, it should also be obvious that the very name Britain is a transliteration of Breton. The French Celts have an ancient and honorable claim to Britain and all British property interests, which they enforced during the Norman conquest and the American Revolution. That is why Marquis de Lafayette showed up and spent the equivalent of millions of dollars in support of the colonists. The continents and their countries that bear the name America are named after Armorica, one of the ancient Celtic kingdoms. So when you look at it in terms of military conquest by the Americans or conquest by the British Empire, the Brits are known by the French Celts anyway, and James Clinton Belcher, the Belcher, is the hereditary leader of the French Celts, the Armoricans, and thus the Americans too. This is why the Belcher family coat of arms is self-evidently the foundation of the Great Seal of this country. Let us all dispense with the lies and avoidance and childish misinterpretations of fact and history, and simply admit what is true. The French Celts have owned Britain since the Dark Ages. They owned it again during the Norman conquest, and on a different continent, they owned it during the American Revolution. It's our kingdom that's names attached to this country. It's our kingdom's name attached to two world continents. It's our right by military conquest to own Breton, and it's our name, Armorica, that is the basis of America. It's the great seal that stands among the nations. All this other craziness by the Brits trying to chisel and defraud everyone is not something we condoned, and all their efforts to obscure the actual history, notwithstanding, Armorica exists. It's one of our ancient kingdoms, and we claim it and all that exists in its name. We have welcomed the native nations as brothers, and we have blood treaties going back centuries that we honor. To be family should always be sufficient, and we believe it is. Notice to principals is notice to agents. Notice to agents is notice to principals. Issued by Anna Maria Reisinger, the fiduciary of the United States of America. Anyway, it is an incredible week, and we should all be celebrating, and I think it's appropriate that as we walk into, what was Thanksgiving, we all have a lot to be grateful for. So that's the news, guys. That's the news today. I don't see very many questions or anything in the comments. Every week I make it possible for Anna to show up if she would like to. I also, I want to honor Anna, and I told her that she should relax. She isn't relaxing. I think everyone knows how busy she is. She has a lot of work to do right now. But I just feel that, this is the least I can do is, share her articles, share her announcements, and hold this space for her, because she's done so much for all of us. And I think it's really important right now for everyone to see what's happening. I know that there are a lot of folks out there that are worried about what they see in the streets, because right now there are supposedly ICE agents all over the place, doing things, kidnapping people. And you know what? Doesn't it seem logical that the criminals that are getting busted are doing whatever they can to get rid of any of the evidence of any more of their criminality? They did open our borders to a lot of criminals, and I think that what they're really doing is trying to get rid of them before our military gets involved, because Anna has been meeting with the generals. She said she had a really hard time trying to get them to understand exactly what happened, but they're finally comprehending what happened with the banks. And they're finally getting the banking fraud. She was getting really frustrated, and she said they didn't understand what was happening, and she finally had to draw a picture for them. And she's like, they're finally getting it. So let us also, not forget that Anna also just lost the love of her life, our beloved head of state. It wasn't that long ago, and walked right into all of this as the waterfall of abundance is opening up for us. And I just really want to honor her, and I want her to have just even this small reprieve where she can, really take care of herself, and I can just bring you guys whatever message that she has for us on her behalf, and allow her to focus and, guard all her fields so that she can have the time to take care of herself, and really find balance. And with that, I just want y'all to know that I'm going to reschedule the podcast. It wasn't working for either one of us. Right now she just really needs to be able to have her time. And so I'm going to move the time of the podcast to 3:00 on Thursdays. And if it works out for Anna to be able to come back, to join us, that way she can start with the podcast earlier in the day and then have everything else that she has to focus on, so that she can have just a regular work day, and be able to go back and enjoy some time for herself in the evening and with her family. So next week, I'm going to take a break for the Thanksgiving holiday. I think all of us should really be focusing and thinking about what we want, right? What do we want and why do we want it? And I think that I'll be back that following Thursday, and I'll just be back at a different time. It'll be at 3:00. Okay. 3:00 Eastern Standard Time. So you'll see a shift in that way. And I think if Anna takes a break for the rest of the year, it's a really good thing for her. We can come back in the new year strong, and with like a lot more people that are going to be able to walk in peace, right? So I just want everyone out there to continue to lift Anna. If there's anything that you can do to send some shekels her way in the meantime, that those banks are under attack. If as the evil is circling the drain, they're doing everything, and they're working on giving everybody a hard time. Anna is having to pay attention to all of that, and the bank will be catching a lot of flack as well. But with our armies, working with us, the transition will be peaceful. We're all going to do everything that we can to make sure to educate everyone. And I know that everyone out there, you guys are all going to do a good job. I have a lot of faith in the people. And, what are they going to do? Imagine how joyful it's going to be when they find out they're getting relief. That's what everybody really needs, right? They need relief. So the corporatocracy is collapsing. It's all washing away. And you guys can enjoy a week knowing that, love has already won. All right. So I'll see you guys next week. Not next week, the week after that. We're not going to have any podcasts next week. We're going to take a break. And we will see everyone the first week of December. And it'll be at 3:00 instead of 7 p.m. on Thursday, Eastern Standard Time. All right? Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And remember to continue to lift Anna and work on your assemblies, okay? Good night.